Okay, just for fun, what is one piece of advice that I would give to new writers? Where you are right now is not where you want to be. So you start crafting the habits, you start figuring out your process right now, like today, like with me. Build your writer's foundation. Build your writer's process. Trust your process.
Don't let your dreams be dreams.
You're conceptualizing an idea, you're developing it into something sturdy, then writing it, revising it, and then rewriting it. Then taking in feedback from peers and professionals. We rarely think about how we as writers, how we're going to build an efficient way to get through that process. You have to create an internal process along with your external writer's process. What helps you write? What keeps you motivated? How do you stay consistent? And those little details, knowing the answers to those questions, can be super beneficial to you. And that only happens if you really know yourself as a writer. To be fair, this is something that I've had to do on my own and figure out on my own, especially as a neurodivergent. So let's talk about that. I'm going to go through some of the questions that you can answer yourself, and I'll also link a document that you can go through these questions. You don't have to write them down or remember them. Start thinking about them as I talk to you about them. But basically, the more answers you know to these questions, I think the better your writing process. So let's start with the first thing, which is building habits. Habits are the immediate thing that you do when you're starting anything, especially writing. Where do you like to write? This changes for me all the time. Sometimes I will travel much further to a park or something, maybe out on a patio. This might change for a lot of different people. It might be a day-to-day situation. You go wherever you are the least distracted. What days do you like to write? Because the importance of what days is that the weekends sometimes are for resting, and your body might know that and your brain might know that and shut down on weekends. Maybe you are doing all of your writing on the weekends. Your 2 days off, whatever those days might be, those are your days off to go somewhere, do an adventure, go to a coffee shop and write. Do you write with people or without people? Are you someone who likes to just sit in a coffee shop and you're completely alone, but the sound of other people kind of gets you motivated, keeps you in that headspace of keeping yourself focused and writing? Do you like to go to a really quiet library with friends? Do you like to go to someone's house with a group of other writers? Do you only like to write with one other person? Do you mind writing with like 10 other people? How do you like to write? Who do you like to write with? Are you someone who's tracking your goals, or do you not like to track your goals? You can track your goals in time, in words, in pages. There's so many ways to track and get the data that's most helpful to you. It will tell you when you like to write, what time, with who. All of that is data that helps you build your process. I pretty much have these videos online to give me the data that I need, because I've had to speak about this so often that I have recognized the patterns through the data, and I have figured out what works for me. Can you write without external motivation? Do you need internal motivation? How does that work for you? Do you need to budget in gifts when you hit milestones? I don't know if you've seen it, but during November, which is the writing month, I buy little gifts for different milestones, for word counts. When I'm writing a novel, I will package them up and put them under a tiny little tree. And those are my gifts to open up every time I hit like 10,000 words, 20,000 words, 30,000 words, get to my 50,000 words. So do you need that kind of external motivation? Last year, I actually found it a little bit more difficult to work on those gifts, maybe because I already knew what they were, so they weren't as motivating. Whereas I used to get a package from Rachel Bateman. She is a novelist, and she used to do these packages that were like writer milestone gifts. They were mostly gifts that were cute little things that motivated you along the way as a writer itself. So a little pin that says storyteller was one that I got one year, a mug that was storyteller driven as well. So when she used to have those gifts, I didn't know what was going to be in them. No one did. So it was a fun surprise. Might have to do something like that. Going out somewhere special does motivate me sometimes. So if I know that I get to go to a garden, or maybe I get to go to a restaurant that I want to go to after I've written a certain amount of words, That is something that's motivating for me sometimes. Going to a coffee shop and having coffee motivates me to get to the location so I can write with my writers group. Or what do you think might motivate you that you can try, and then maybe you can just sort of tweak it to what might work later on for you, and sometimes it changes, so keep that in mind. The next thing that you need to think about with your habits is actually taking a look at your surroundings and figuring out what or who is consuming a lot of your time and stopping you from writing. And what are 3 ways that you can think of that can actually fix that and prevent it? So I know that when I go home, or when I was living at home with my family, I often want to go hang out with them. And that was something that was really easy because they would just come into my room and not know that I had scheduled time to write, and they would want to go and eat out or do something. So I'd have to figure out the right time, the right day, and a way to lessen that distraction for myself. Usually that meant I leave the house on times when they're at work. That's kind of how you have to work on finding the space that you need to do your writing craft, because it will not get better if you don't set aside the time, and you won't finish your projects if you don't set aside the time either. So it's really important. You have to protect your time as an actual writer. Even if you're not published, even if you're haven't been produced, you are writing on spec. So that's on the speculation that you will be eventually picked up, and that means you have to take it very seriously as a professional.
Hello scribes, I just had to stop you really quickly so I could tell you that I've got a new Notion website for you with a bunch of free things, including the script vault, which has the feature script vault and the TV script vault. And if you have a script you'd like to donate, feel free to email me. You can also find a really quick link to my Etsy page where you can buy your own writer verified blue checkmark pin. And once I have free downloads for you, I'm going to drop the link right there. I'm hoping to add more free downloadable resources for you. Okay, back to the video.
Okay, so let's talk about planning and outlining. How long do you do your research, and do you need to stop it before it gets out of hand? Because there are some people who can spend days and forever just researching and developing their outline, as I have for one of my Christmas and July scripts that I've been writing. And I've had to tell myself, just move on and get the outline done. And then you can go back and you can fix the details that you really want to before you start the writing. And even after you've drafted, you can still fix and revise certain things by doing a little bit more development or research on a point that maybe you knew you needed to refine. Make a note of it and keep going. It's just going to slow you down and stop you. Your draft needs to exist. Do you outline? Outlining is, I know, it's a big topic. A lot of people don't like to outline. A lot of people like to outline. I myself didn't like to outline in the very beginning, and then found that I really just can't make sense of the chronological events if I don't list them out and verify that they make sense. And then I can do the thing that I like the most, which is write dialogue. I've always liked writing dialogue more than writing the action. So are you a plotter outliner? Are you a pantser / discovery writer? A lot of people don't want to do the outlining, which can be fine if you're used to structuring your story without an outline and you do pretty well with catching all those little plot holes that you might need to sort of sew together or string together, close them up. I personally am less able to do that, so that's why I love outlining. You can have a balance. I did an outlining video, and it has different ways that you can outline, different ways that I personally have already used. Someone in the comments did mention that it's pretty much, if you combine all of the ways, it's basically the snowflake method, I think it was. I have not read the book on snowflake method. I haven't really researched it.
But I'm going to throw it up on the screen so that you can see it, because it's a very simple way of you breaking down each step that you really do need to take to write and outline your story. And by doing it in segments like this, makes it feel less overwhelming.
Whatever helps you get your outline done or understand storytelling, internalize it as much as you can so it becomes like second nature when you're writing a story, and you're good to go. Just make sure to map out some sort of major beats so that you stay on track. With that comes figuring out how you like to organize your outlining, how you like to organize your note taking. Find a system that works for you, stick to that system. You're going to need to take notes regardless, whether or not you're in the zero draft stage, the outlining stage, the research and development, all the way to your revised drafts. You're just going to have a space where you keep all of that together. Now, how long does it take you to outline? Does it take you typically like a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months to make sure you get all of the details down that you need, all the research in that you need? And how much time can you give yourself to do that? Also, just know to restrict yourself on this outlining phase because you want to get to the writing, and that's the most exciting part, but also you still want to have enough outline so that you can get into the writing stage and feel confident about what you're writing. That's pretty much the planning and outlining stage. The drafting stage. Now, the drafting stage is obviously everybody's favorite. You really want to know what's happening in that stage. It can be overwhelming because of perfectionism. It can be exciting. It can stop you dead when you're in the middle of it. So many things can happen during that stage, and it's probably the most emotional part. There's technical writing being done, but the technical part is the simplest part. It's really the act of getting things from your head onto the page that the translation can sometimes get just completely cut off. Some people might get bored in this stage. Some people might find this stage to be too tedious. There are a lot of things that can happen. But this is also where you have to know yourself so well that you can get over that emotional part with the habits that you've built and with the process that you have. Have you finished a draft? And if not, what stopped you? If you can work back and reverse engineer what happened there, you can build your process around skipping the heartache of stopping a project and never finishing by understanding why you stopped in the first place. Write those down, figure out how to overcome them, figure out how that applies to when you sit down to actually draft. You need to know this answer because no one else is going to know it for you. My process is not going to be your process, and that's completely fine. But also my reasons and what I like to actually write, the fun parts for me are not the same for you. So kind of think it through, kind of try to figure out what you like about the process or what you don't like about the process, and then try to figure out when you go into drafting how to fix that. So again, because I don't like to write any of the action and I don't like to sit there and just detail everything, I want to get to the good parts, which to me, the most fun parts are dialogue. I have everything pre-built in the outline to keep it so that I flow enough and get to do my fun part, which is the dialogue, and get to interact with the characters through the dialogue. And that is why I pre-plan having these steps, because I know that I'm going to have that emotional moment where I'm like, I don't want to write all of this other stuff. It's so boring. I'm unfocused. I don't know what to write. May get stuck in the scene, but at least I know where I'm supposed to be. And if it changes along the way, I can make little additions to a second version of the outline. So I'll keep the same outline. I'll just make a copy of it. I'll start adding in new details to whatever I've come up with. If I've come up with something new and fun, and I will keep myself motivated. So remember, I told you to keep yourself motivated. Know what motivates you. That's how I stay motivated on writing. The other motivation, of course, is going to the coffee shops and drinking the fun, different lattes. That's fun for me. Being with my friends so that I could talk about my story helps keep me motivated also. And so here's some other questions you need to ask yourself. What's 3 things that you can really do to remind yourself to keep going? I sometimes like to keep a little post-it note on my screen that just tells me why I'm writing this. What is the significance of this specific script or story? Because if I know why I'm writing it and what the end goal of telling the story is, and I'm able to effectively communicate that, not only is it really good if you're a writer and a novelist for pitching, it's also really good for keeping you motivated. Okay, revisions and editing. This is basically like, how do you like to edit? Now, reading your own writing is sometimes very boring on its own. If you can't get through reading it, find other ways. We have so much technology now. I've found other ways to actually have things read out loud to me. So you can have a voice assistant read back your PDF or your writing so that you can hear it out loud. You can speak it out loud. You can do a table read. There's lots of different ways to get your stuff read out loud or listen to it so that you can actually go back and do revisions. You can also join groups on Facebook for screenwriting or novel writing, and sometimes people are willing to trade with you, so you can do a script swap. You can also hire people on Fiverr to read your stuff. I had my own Fiverr gig where I would actually read other people's scripts so that I can give them feedback as well. There are tons of people online who are willing to read your script for a small fee, and it's much less than what you might pay if you are going to a larger coverage website. I really hope this helps you with your writer's process. I wanted to talk about the process of creating your own writer's arc by figuring yourself out as a writer and listening to yourself, how you're motivated, how you work, and understanding yourself. Because when you get to the point where you are professional, they're going to want to know how your process works too. And if you don't know it, they can't help you build it as well as you can help yourself build it. Thanks so much for sticking with me on this one, Scribes, and I hope to see you on the next one.